Hello and welcome to the Experience Podcast. I am a multi-dimensional spiritual being that's having a human experience. My name is Neil. With me today is my brother and a fellow spiritual being, Dennis. I invite you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Dennis, and I'm a spirit walking around in a meat suit. And I'm grateful that I'm here with you this morning and wherever you're watching this.
So in this video, I want to present a book right from the beginning, and it's called George Orwell, 1984. And in this book, he's really talking about a dystopia society of what he sees as being real potentials for. It's like a prophecy, a prediction for the future that if no events change, then this is how the future is going to play out. And he wrote this book in, I don't have the exact date, but it was like 1930s or 1940s as a prediction for what he wrote in the book for 1984. Fast forward to present day now, and a lot of the things that he was saying about 1984 is now coming to fruition in 2020 and beyond. So I want to read 2 pages from the book, and then we're going to talk about them, and we'll have some fun with this.
Sure.
So this is talking about one of the main characters by the name of Winston, who has been taken and captured by the Ministry of Peace, which promotes war. And in this society of this dystopia world that George Orwell created, everything is backwards. And they have this slogan that goes like this. Their slogan of the party, which is the head of the state and essentially a dictatorship in this society, has a slogan that goes like this: war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. And that's the slogan of this dictatorship. They have everybody repeating this over and over.
Those 3 phrases.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes, sir.
War is peace.
Yes, sir. That's the first one. Freedom is slavery.
Freedom is slavery.
Ignorance is strength. And so getting into the reading, his voice had grown almost dreamy. The exaltation, the lunatic enthusiasm was still in his face. He is not pretending, thought Winston. He is not a hypocrite. He believes every word he says. What most oppressed him was the consciousness of his own intellectual inferiority. He watched the heavy yet graceful form strolling to and fro, in and out of the range of his vision. O'Brien was a being in all ways larger than himself. There was no idea that he had ever had or could have that O'Brien had not long ago known, examined, and rejected. I'd like to read that again. There was no idea that he had ever had or could have that O'Brien had not long ago known, examined, and rejected. His mind contained Winston's mind. But in that case, how could it be true that O'Brien was mad? It must be he, Winston, who was mad. O'Brien halted and looked down at him. His voice had grown stern again. Do not imagine that you will save yourself, Winston. However completely you surrender to us, No one who has ever gone astray is ever spared. And even if we choose to let you live out the natural term of your life, still you would never escape from us. What happens to you here is forever. Understand that in advance. We will crush you down to the point from which there is no coming back.
I got a question now. So when you first started this, it seemed as if this person was living, to me, it sounded as if this person was living like maybe in the city or something.
He's being
Now-
he's being tortured by an oppressor. I'd
Okay.
like to continue.
Okay,
We'll crush you down to the point. What happens to you here is forever. Understand that in advance. We will crush you down to the point from which there is no coming back. Things will happen to you from which you could not recover. If you lived 1,000 years, never again will you be capable of ordinary human feeling. Everything will be dead inside of you. Never again will you be capable of love, of friendship, or joy of living, or laughter, or curiosity, or courage, or integrity. You will be hollow. We will squeeze you empty, and then we shall fill you up with ourselves. He paused and signed to the man in the white coat. Winston was aware of some heavy piece of apparatus being pushed into place behind his head. O'Brien had sat down beside the bed so that his face was almost on a level with Winston's. 3,000, he said, speaking over Winston's head to the man in the white coat. Two soft pads, which felt slightly moist, clamped themselves against Winston's temples. He quailed. There was pain coming, a new kind of pain. O'Brien laid a hand reassuringly, almost kindly on his. This time it will not hurt, he said. Keep your eyes fixed on mine. At this moment, there was a devastating explosion, or what seemed like an explosion, though it was not certain whether there was any noise. There was undoubtedly a blinding flash of light. Winston was not hurt, only prostrated. Although he had already been lying on his back when the thing happened, he had a curious feeling that he had been knocked into that position. A terrific, painless blow had flattened him out. Also, something had happened inside his head. As his eyes regained their focus, he remembered who he was and where he was, and he recognized the face that was gazing into his own, but somewhere or other, there was a large patch of emptiness, as though a piece had been taken out of his brain. It will not last, said O'Brien. Look me in the eyes. Which country is Oceania at war with? Winston thought. He knew what was meant by Oceania, and that he himself was a citizen of Oceania. He also remembered Eurasia and East Asia, but who was at war with whom he did not know. In fact, he had not been aware that there was any war. I don't remember, he said. Oceania is at war with East Asia. Do you remember now? Yes. Oceania has always been at war with East Asia. Since the beginning of your life, since the beginning of the party, since the beginning of history, the war has continued without break. Always the same war. Do you remember that? Yes. 11 years ago, you created a legend about 3 men who had been condemned to death for treachery. You pretended that you had seen a piece of paper which proved them innocent. No such piece of paper ever existed. You invented it, and later you grew to believe in it. You remember now the very moment at which you first invented it. Do you remember that? Yes. Just now I held up the fingers of my hands to you. You saw 5 fingers. Do you remember that? Yes. O'Brien held up the fingers of his left hand with the thumb concealed. There are 5 fingers there. Do you see 5 fingers? Yes. And he did see them for a fleeting instant before the scenery of his mind changed. He saw 5 fingers and there was no deformity. Then everything was normal again. The old fear, the hatred, the bewilderment came trotting back again. But there had been a moment, he did not know how long, 30 seconds, of luminous certainty when each new suggestion of O'Brien's had filled up a patch of emptiness and become absolute truth. and when 2 and 2 could have been 3 as easily as 5. If that were what was needed, it had faded out before O'Brien had dropped his hand. But though he could not recapture it, he could remember it, as one remembers a vivid experience at some remote period of one's life when one was in effect a different person. You see now, said O'Brien, that it is at any rate possible. Yes, said Winston. So after hearing that, what are your initial, how do you feel right now?
I mean, I feel good, but hearing that information, I mean, I feel like we're pretty much living in that story already. Because they've thrown, and when I say they, I'm talking about the media and the people that project information onto the authority figures. When they project information to the masses, it's as if in the past 6 years, they have given us so much information. I think a lot of people have become numb to it. And so they go about their lives kind of, and I see this in myself. I'm not saying other people, I'm saying myself too, but it's as if they're trying to make us, give us so much information and so much truth and also falsehood and lies that we become numb to the information altogether. So then we just tune out. And I feel like that's where a lot of us, and I feel like that's where our country has become apathetic, is because we see the lies, we see the truth, but yet somewhere in the middle we're that deer in headlights and we do not know where to act and where to go from here.
Well, how do you see a solution for that?
I would refer back to the previous episode and watching that in the beginning where you talked about planting resources, building resources, creating outside of this current reality.
So like a form of action, because like with the deer in headlights, if you're just standing there, that's not accomplishing anything. So I feel like there's got to be radical action implemented.
And what kind of actions do you feel are necessary to implement?
First thing is to take radical action for your health. And that would include mental, physical, and spiritual. And after taking the radical action for that, I see taking radical action to find truth and to find what is real truth and to turn on the filter of your heart and listen for truth from there, not from your head. Just listen from your heart.
And for somebody that may have not heard that said very much, like what, when you say you listen from your heart, what are you referring to? Like for somebody that might not know what you're talking about.
I'm referring to, so let's say I get to a T in the road. I've got two options, left or right. So Greg Braden explains this method. And so do I want to go left or do I want to go right? It depends on where I want to go. But if I don't have a specific location, how do I know where to go? So when I'm at that T, a method that Greg Braden explains is that you can place a finger or your hand on your heart, because what that does is it brings your conscious attention to it. And then once you have your hand there, you ask yourself, should I turn left here? And then listen, and then feel. And then if your mind lights up, if you feel excited to go left, if you feel like that's the right decision, it probably is. But to verify it, you can ask the question, should I turn right here? And see how you feel.
Sure.
And then maybe try the left again. But he explains this method of tuning into your heart and then feeling how you feel about the decision you're about to make. And it's also really feeling into your intuition and finding factual information from heart-based intuition.
Very interesting. I would like to just backtrack a little bit about when you asked me. I think something that's that you and I can do right now is, this is in the springtime, and to plant a garden. I mean, literally planting a garden is the first step or the first thing that we can do to take our power back and be in control of our destiny.
That's beautiful. How do you feel as a viewer right now? That's a loaded question. Feel into it. See how you feel. Ask yourself that question on a daily basis, on a minute-to-minute basis. Stay blessed, stay multi-dimensional, and continue experiencing.